is a very interesting combination of old and new. I'll give you some background on the creation of the opera itself, and then a summary of the farcical storyline. The composer of the music behind Christopher Columbus, which is the opera that this aria is from, is Offenbach. Now, he lived in the mid-1800s, composed the Tales of Hoffmann, among other things. He also composed a lot of kind of music theater operetta of the time, which Gilbert and Sullivan drew on a lot in later times. But many of Offenbach's works are no longer performed, are rare, lost pieces. And in the mid-1970s, an Englishman and an American got together and decided to create a record label called Opera Rara. Opera Rara. And this record label, the idea behind it was to take some of these lost pieces and these rare pieces that were no longer performed and create venues where they could be performed and recorded for the public. Offenbach was one of these composers that they chose to highlight. And then, in 1976, enter the Orchestra of Belfast in Northern Ireland. And they asked Don White, who was the American side of this Opera Rara new institute, whether he would create for them, using some of these Opera Rara pieces, a new piece called pastiche, which is like what it sounds like, I guess, the pasting together of a whole bunch of different things, in order to create an opera to honor the American bicentennial. So he went back into his music library and pulled out a whole bunch of different Offenbach operettas and basically pasted them all together, stuck them in a blender, and came out with this new opera, which he then wrote the libretto, the lyrics and the story for this orchestra in Northern Ireland. And that created Christopher Columbus, which is this new opera, pastiche. And the storyline he came up with to celebrate the American bicentennial is set in 1492, and it's all about Columbus's journey to find the New World, but it is not the one that you probably learned about in school. In his version, Columbus is a polygamist with many, many wives all over Europe, and the wives all find out about this, and they decide they won't have any of it, so they bring him to Queen Isabella and charge him with polygamy. And her job is to punish him, but he seduces her. And he shows up when she's compromised anyway, because when he comes into her quarters, she's nursing a terrible hangover. And she talks a little bit about her own dalliances. She's not been particularly faithful to King Ferdinand either. So they have that in common, and they have that to talk about. So they talk about that. He compliments her on her beauty. She forgives all of his trespasses, and they begin to be together. At this point, King Ferdinand comes in and says, "What's going on here?" And in order to cover up their affair, she says, "Oh, he was just telling me about this passage to the New World, and really, it's a great idea, and you should support this." And so King Ferdinand goes, "Oh, that's a great idea. I'd love to support that. Here, let me give you my ships, the Nina and Santeria, and you can go off and find the New World." And at that point, Queen Isabella says that she will help to fund the trip with all of her many, 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 many jewels. And Christopher Columbus says, "Oh, you don't want to give up your jewels for that." And then she sings the jewel aria, which is what I will sing for you, about where she got the jewels from and how they're not important because she can always get more of them. Then, just to tell you what happens a little bit later on, so you're not left on the edges of your seats, Columbus does go off to try and find the West Indies, gets pretty close to America, and they send him off with all of these wives on this boat. And they all fight and don't get along. So at one point, they cast him overboard in a longboat and say, "See you later. We don't want anything to do with you anymore." Then everybody else on the ship washes up on the shore of America, where they are met with an Indian tribe that threatens to kill them all. However, never fear, in comes Christopher Columbus, who had washed up on shore the day before, met and married Minnehaha, and is now the chief of the Indians. And so everyone is saved, but the frosting on the cake is that in America he discovers the Coca-Cola nut, and the cola nut, and discovers Coca-Cola, and they all become rich. And that is the story. Exactly right. So in any case, the thing I like about this one is it's the music and the theater are really married together. It's not about necessarily the lovely arc of the music as much as telling the story, which you'll see, which will become obvious when I say it. Okay.
And I have
men knew what was going to happen.
And I was told not to sit in the front row. Seriously, yeah. Bloody jealous.